First of all, I want to say thank you again for an opportunity for me to present this program that I think is one of the best that is out there as far as changing student behavior, getting students to be motivated, and also changing their academic performance. Because I believe those three things are related. And this program has helped me over the last 9 years as a behavior specialist at Henry County Middle School. And I was teaching the EBD class, Emotional Behavior Disorder, and Autism class. And so one of the things that I had to find was we already come into teaching knowing that when you teach at a school like that, where it's a Title I school, you have 80% of the students that get free lunch. We know that there's going to be some challenges. You know, we know that the parent support is not going to be, 100%. We know that the resources sometimes is not, available like it is at other places. But the one thing that I had a real problem with, because I was able to overcome those two things, because I'm pretty good at developing relationships, so I was able to get parents to at least come to meetings, to at least, take my calls, when I call to the home and say I'm having a problem. And the resource part, I learned from Mr. Monk, was my first principal at Henry County Middle. And one thing that I learned from Mr. Monk was that go out in the community and you can get some of the businesses to give you the finances that you need, to be successful in the classroom. So, I took care of those two things. But the final problem that I had was I was in a classroom trying to teach students science, math, social studies, and language arts, and they were not motivated. They didn't believe that they had the capabilities. They didn't believe that they had the abilities to learn at high levels. And I knew this because every time I was teaching a lesson, I would have a student to say, "Coach Worthing, this is stupid. I don't need this. I already know what I'm going to do. I'm a painter, just like my daddy does. I'm a painter." And so that disturbed me because these were students that I felt like had a lot of potential. And the only reason they were settling is because they didn't have those models of success in their environment. And so these students believe that because they don't have those role models, they don't have those models of success, they are resigned to be whatever they see around them. And that's the reason that a lot of them said, "I already know what I'm going to do." And when you have that type of mindset, yes, math is stupid, science is stupid. Even when you try to explain to them, as a painter, you're going to be able to use math. But when they have that type of mindset, it's hard to get past that. And so the first thing that I had to find out is I had to find a way to motivate these students. I had to find a way to get these students to believe that they can do great things, that they can achieve at high levels. And so one of the things that I ran across was a program called Mindset, the Brainology program. And it was taught by Dr. Carol Dweck at the University of Stanford. Her and her team, they are like the leading researchers in the whole world when it comes to motivation. And so I started looking at her program, I started looking at a lot of her research work, and I implemented the Brainology program in my second year in that EBD classroom. And if you know, EBD students already come with documented behavior problems. They're aggressive verbally and physically. Autistic students, when something just get out of whack, because you have to have structure with them. And anytime that schedule gets out of whack, they can get violent. Okay? So I had to find a way to get through all of that. And so I implemented the Brainology program. Now, most teachers look at the Brainology program as a way to get students' achievement levels to go up. But for me, it was a tool not only for that, but to change their behavior. Because I know that the reason some students, get in gangs, the reason some students turn to drugs and alcohol is because they don't feel valued. They don't feel empowered. And so those things, gang activities, those are the things that give them value. Those are the things that make them feel empowered. So I had to find a way to change the way that they were thinking. And so I used Dr. Dweck's program called Mindset. And this is what Dr. Dweck and her team comes up with. We have two mindsets. A fixed mindset, and this is where individuals believe that intelligence is a fixed trait. You're born with what you got. Okay? You're either born dumb, smart, or in between, average. And that's what the fixed mindset says. You're born with what you got. Growth mindset tells us that the intelligence is a potential that can be developed. If you work hard, you can develop your abilities, you can develop your intelligence, you can develop your talent. So now, this is what they found now, that the different mindsets, this is the goal of people with a fixed mindset. Their goal is to look smart. That's the most important thing for these students, is to look smart. And this is what they say. Now, this is what the actual student says, because the first thing that I do is we give an assessment even before we start the program, because we want to find out who is a fixed mindset, who is a growth mindset. And so we ask these questions, and this is what fixed mindset students say. The main thing that I want when I do my schoolwork is to show how good I am at it. Okay, and that, we found out that that creates a problem. You know, I had to change my own way of rearing my children when I learned this, because my son was gifted. And he was in the gifted class. And so we always told him, oh, Eric, you're so smart, man. You're so gifted. And guess what? He got in the 9th grade and he faced some challenges that was tough for him. And because he thought he was so smart and gifted, he shut down. And I got a call from the teacher saying, hey, Eric is struggling in math. One of his strongest subjects was math. And I'm like, hold on, what's going on? And he basically told me the same thing that I learned from this. He said, Dad, I must not be too smart if I can't do that. And so that was his mindset, because he's always been told that he's smart and that he's gifted. And so what happens, it creates a situation where when they face a difficult challenge, they'll shut down and they won't try as hard. Whereas the growth mindset person, learning is the most important thing for them. And this is what these students say. It's much more important for me to learn things in my classes than it is to get the best grades. So they're focused on learning. And because they're focused on learning, and most of the time these kids thrive when you give them effort praise. When you say, man, it looks like you worked so hard on that. When you praise them for that effort, when they face challenges, guess what? They don't give up. They keep trying. And so these are the goals of the different mindsets. Fixed mindset people, they want to look smart. And growth mindset people is important. The importance to them is learning. They want to learn. And again, with the effort, fixed mindset students, effort is negative to them. Again, because if you're smart, you don't have to work so hard. The very fact that you're working hard means you're not that smart. Growth mindset students, effort is very positive. The harder you work at something, the better you'll be at. Okay? These are the statements that the students themselves make. And of course, this is what they do after they meet their first failure. Fixed mindset students feel helpless. And this is what they say. I'm going to spend less time on this subject from now on. I would try not to take this subject ever again. Now, how many of us have ever done that in college? You know, in college, we will go around, how was that teacher? oh, she was hard, man, I wouldn't take her. That's the same thing. Because they met that failure, or in that case, because they heard the teacher was going to be really, really hard, they didn't want to take that class. Fixed mindset. And then also we found out that those are the students that are more likely to cheat. And the reason being is because their goal is to what? Look smart. Okay, so any situation that they're in that makes them not look smart, it embarrasses them. Okay, and that's where a lot of the behaviors come from. A lot of the behaviors, this is what I found out about a lot of my students when they came to the classroom. You know, the first time they come to the classroom, because they don't know me, the first time they come, they still doing the same thing. They're overturning tables and chairs. You know, the only difference between me and other teachers is that I want to find out why they're doing it. Okay, so I have to, you know, I have to monitor them. I have to look at them, and then I have to talk to them. You know, what's going on. And I found out right off that most of the time when they show those behaviors, it's because they don't know how to do the work. They don't know how to do the work. They don't want to, they're embarrassed to say, Coach, I don't understand. Because, again, fixed mindset won't look smart. So they're too embarrassed to say, Coach, I don't understand. So what I do is I just take it upon myself to go to the student and sit right there with them and calm them down and say, look, you're not by yourself. I'm going to be here to help you to get this done. It's all right not to know. Okay, but as long as you give the effort, guess what? You're going to learn how to do it. And I was able to change their behavior by doing this. But fixed mindset students, they feel helpless when they fail. Okay? That's what we have. When you see a lot of these students that's coming, you know, to the court back and forth, I know because I had some students that some of y'all probably know because they had probation, you know, and I probably met with some of the probation officers because they had to come get information from me. So they feel helpless. And when they feel helpless, they get in gangs. You know, they do things. They get involved with drugs. You know, they do all those things that we see these students that keep coming back here before you, Judge. And it's because they don't believe in their abilities because they have fixed mindset. Growth mindset students, when they fail, they work hard. They never attribute the fact that they fail to their ability. It's always that I need to do better. I need to find a better strategy. I need to do it another way. So they'll spend more time studying for the test. Okay, and these are some of the researches that she did. This one was done in 2007. Students, when they came into the 7th grade, and now we know when they came into the 7th grade, everybody was at the same place. And the reason she chose 7th grade is because, you know, anybody that's ever been a teacher, we know elementary school is pretty easy for them. 6th grade is still a little bit easier for them. But when they get to 7th grade, that's when the challenges really come. So, what we see, and now remember, we already give the assessment, so we know who are the growth mindset students, we know who are the fixed mindset students, we know this. And so this is what happened. They all start, when they enter the 7th grade, everybody's grades averages like 74.5. But fall, at the end of fall, the first year, growth mindset students are close to the 76 mark. Fixed mindset students are down near 73. And you'll see in that graph, growth mindset students continue to grow, where fixed mindset students continue to fall. So by the time they leave middle school in the 8th grade, they're really struggling. Right? And we see that in real life again, Henry County Middle, Henry County High School. I've been a part of all of those schools. Eagles Landing High, I was the head basketball coach there. Matter of fact, my group won the state title 2013. First boys basketball team to ever win one, and that was a group that I started when they was in the 6th grade, and they just stayed together and got better and better and better. Okay? So this is what we know. Okay, this was the thing that I was talking about, where we found out about the intelligent praise versus the effort praise. And this is what happened. Students were given an IQ test. And this is what the teachers were instructed to do. We had groups where the teacher was instructed to tell them, wow, that's a really good score. You must be smart at this. Then we had another group where those teachers were instructed to say, wow, that's a really good score. You must have tried really hard. And then we had a control group, and that group was just simply instructed to say, wow, that's really a good score. What do we find out? Fixed mindset students, again, because their goal is to look smart, after their first difficult trial, confidence low, their motivation was low, their performance decreased. Okay? And that's attributed to, again, I experienced that personally because my son was gifted. 9th grade, he wanted to give up being in the gifted class. Dad, I just want to get out of this gifted stuff. That's because we didn't praise him for the effort that he was given. We didn't praise him all the time for, trying a different strategy. And when we praise students for effort, that teaches them that we can get better if we work hard. Okay? Growth mindset student, again, because their goal is learning, confidence was high, motivation is high, and their performance increased. And again, these are just the number of questions that students were able to answer. You see that they start the same in the first trial, but then as the tests get a little bit more difficult, we see the growth mindset students answering more questions, fixed mindset students answering less questions. And those questions that they answered, they really didn't read it or look at it. They just got to the point where they were just any, miny, miny, mo, and just put in an answer. That's why the grades went down, where the growth mindset students, even if it's something that they don't understand, they're not going to give up. They're not. I mean, I've watched students taking tests in school, and I watched them spend so much time on one question. I was like, man, maybe you want to go to the next question, and then if you have time, come back to that one. Because growth mindset students, they want to figure it out. Keep trying and keep trying. So again, all of this, again, is just showing how the different mindsets, how they respond to the different challenges. And so, again, that's why Carol Dweck, that's why her program was designed to take students from fixed mindset to growth mindset. Because we know that if we get students to believe that they can do anything as long as they learn how to embrace challenge, as long as they learn how not to give up, it's going to change their motivation, it's going to change their behavior, and it's going to change their academic levels. Yes.
And I know that you've talked about this in terms of the students and using this program with the students. Can you tell us about, what you intend to implement through the court system, how you want to frame it?
Yeah, that's what we're getting to.
I just want to...
I'm sorry, I had to give you, see...
I know my audience here, so...
Okay, but in the school system, we have to give a little evidence first before we go into the program. So I'm sorry if I
Yes, and
You
I
know,
did,
that's
I
just
didn't
my
want to
school-
stop you, but I know
Yeah.
my audience.
That's just my school
Here,
mind.
so.
But this is what it is. This is the program, okay? Now, this program is actually set up for the students to be on a computer. Of course, in the school system, we had a computer for every student. But what happened, again, because I was teaching students that was autistic and EBD, you know, as soon as the computer slowed down or something like that, it was causing chaos. So I said, no, I got to come up with a, you know, a backup plan. So I eventually ended up doing it just like this.
Okay.
I play the videos on the screen. I do it now, you know, at 2 churches that I'm working with. I do the same thing. I play it on, that way you don't have to pay for the, you know, because mine is lifetime. I already purchased mine, it's lifetime. And so I still do the same things that you're going to see that we do in this program right here. So that's the picture, that's what it looks like when we start going into the videos. And you'll see how it's made up. You have a notepad, and that's when we're doing the units, the kids can go in that notepad and take some notes, write down some important things, type it down, whatever. The journal is the same thing. They want to reflect. Every time that we finish, you know, a topic of content, we reflect on it. And we'll do the same thing. It'll just be in a portfolio that I keep, because I keep a portfolio for every student. So when they do the work, they're turning that work back in. And see, you can use that as a way, like the probation officer, they can have that portfolio. They can say, hey, Coach Worthing got my portfolio. He can show you what I've been doing in the classroom. And so they can use that as a measuring tool to see, you know, if the kids are changing, if they're really paying attention, if they're doing the work. Okay. We have a map, and I'm going to show you that map. And the map is kind of like my book. The map is just going to take them, you know, it starts you at introduction, and it goes all the way up. It's like a big rock, a mountain. They're trying to get to the top. And when they get to the top, they get a certificate for being a brain master. Okay, it's kind of like my book. You know, I have 10 levels. Once you get to the top level, you know, you're a mountain mover. You believe you can do anything. And so that's what this program is designed to do, is to take them to that top level. And then the brain book is just a resource tool for them, so that, you know, we're not trying to trick them. You know, we want kids to be able to know the information and find it whenever they need it. So when we're asking questions, you know, they can go back and they can say, Coach, can you go back to that Unit 1 thing? You know, we'll go back.
And are they getting handouts? You said the brain book that they're looking at, is that a handout, or is that an actual book where they have to read material?
Well,
they're given assignments and
it's
material.
actually in the computer. But what they'll do is when we're doing the assignments, because the way it's set up, in each unit, you have a video first that, you know, explains. This is a fun video because it's done by high school students. These guys, Dahlia and Chris, you know, they're high school students themselves.
Okay.
And they're funny, you know, because they speak the language of these kids.
Is that, do you have that video? Do you have a video that you were going to play?
Well, I can play the video, but
No,
I just
didn't know
got the slide.
if you were
Yeah,
okay then.
yeah, but it's easy. What I did was the slide just kind of like shows you how it looks.
Okay.
Yeah. But those are the 2 kids that, you know, go through the video. And again, it's funny. That's what you want to do. You want to make it relevant. You know, you want to make it something. One of the assignments in there is the students have to tell us who are 3 people that you look up to in the, you know, the music industry, actor, whatever. Who are 3 people that you look up to? And then they have to go through, what kind of challenges do you think they face in order to get to where they are? And so they got to brainstorm. What kind of things do I think, you know, Chance the Rapper had to go through? You know, what kind of things did Tyler Perry have to face? And we talk about that. 6 years, he didn't make any money. He lost money. And he was homeless, you know, off and on. And he kept doing the same thing, though. He didn't give up. And it was the 7th year when he got recognized and known. So those are the kind of, you know, lessons that the kids have. Okay. And like I say, this one, we always start out with the video, where the kids are talking, and then we have 3 assignments on 3 different times. Okay. And that's basically the students follow animated characters. And this is what we're looking for. When I make the effort to learn, my brain changes and my ability increases. Okay? You want students to change their behavior. Okay? Get them to understand that I can get better. Get them to understand that I'm valued. Get them to understand that I am somebody and I can do whatever I put my mind to. Change behavior. You'll be surprised at what this did for EBD students, what this did for students with autism. Autistic students that you know, the national average is 22% of them graduate. Man, I think all of my autistic students graduated. You know, I really do believe all of them graduated, because I always go to the graduation and I can't remember one autistic student that I taught that did not graduate from high school. You know, so that's amazing within itself, you know. Okay, again, it's, you know, that's what it is. It's about the units, 4 units and an introduction. And the key to it is that 4th bullet, relevant content. It's got to be relevant. That's how I was able to keep students' attention, because I used stuff that they were familiar with. I used the rappers that they know. I used the singers that they know. Because if you do that, you're going to keep their attention. Last night, I had my class last night, they didn't want to go home. I was like, hey guys, now I told y'all I want to get y'all out of here on time, and it's 8:50, because we end at 8, normally at 7:55, I'm shutting down. It's already 8:25 and the students are still talking and discussing. You know, so you got to make it relevant. You got to make it interactive. You know, it's not like it used to be when we went to school. You know, the teacher get up on the board and they just talk you to death, and you go to sleep, pass out, wake back up. It's not. These students, the millennials and the group the group coming up, they don't respond to that. Interactive. Okay, they have to be involved. You have to be asking them questions that they can answer, questions that they can deal with. Right? And then the humor, because Dahlia and Chris, they're funny. They really are. Sometimes I catch myself, you know, laughing at some of the stuff they say, because it's real. It's talking about the brain and how we learn, but at the same time, they're hip. You know, they're not lame like the kids say. You know, so they're giving the information in a way that they can understand. So it gets the students' attention, and it keeps them involved and engaged. And this, again, this is the unit, it's an introductory unit that, you know, talk about the basic structures of the brain. Well, the introduction just tells them about the characters and the purpose. Then unit 1, we talk about the basic structure of the brain. Unit 2, we talk about how it functions. Unit 3, you know, we talk about the changes of the activities and what, you know, what promotes learning. And then unit 3 too, we also talk about how certain things we do can get us to control our emotions. And that's what we want to do, because kids, when they act out, they really get frustrated, and they're acting out of their frustration. So in unit 3, we talk about how you can control those emotions as well. We work on strategies that help us to calm down. And we get to that point where we know we're getting upset. And that helped me a lot when I taught my kids how to recognize the triggers. You know, we didn't have any more blow-ups. You know? And even when Dr. Anderson had one in the cafeteria, you know, because I got to the point where I trusted them. As long as they were doing what they needed to do, I give them a little bit more freedom. And even if she called me to the cafeteria and said, Coach, I need you up here, and one of them was acting crazy, all I had to do was say, oh, come on, Tashawn, let's go, man. Let's go. And he would walk. They know I don't, you know, at that point, while they're in front of people, I'm not going to embarrass them, so I'm not going to ask questions. You know, I'm just going to say, let's go. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to come, and then we'll talk about it when we get in private. Okay? And so again, I just want to get to this. Now, this is some of the things that the students say. You know, you have all type of students: 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, 9th graders. You know, and that's, like I say, it works for students. You know, the group that I have now is a mixture because it's a church, and I'm teaching the youth, and I'm teaching the mindset. And these students are 6th grade all the way up to, I got a couple of seniors that just graduated, and they're still, you know, they're still bringing stuff to the classroom. They're still engaged, even though they're going to college in August. You know, they're still engaged and loving it. And then we have some teacher testimonials. And this is what I want to get to. This is the map. This is what we're doing here. We go from the introductory unit right here, and that's a video. We start out with a video. Then we go to the classroom. That'll be unit 1 right there. And we always have a brain lab. You know, and the brain lab is just, you know, it's funny again, but it's something that's dealing with how the brain works, how we're making ourselves smarter, what's happening, neurons, cells in that brain are connecting because we're taking on challenges, we're learning new things, we get smarter. You know, we don't learn new things when we do stuff that's easy. You know, so that's what we're teaching the kids, that you have to learn how to embrace challenge. And so that's what we go. And then you have the challenge at the end of every little lesson. We have a challenge, and that challenge, like last night we did unit 3. So the challenge was, you know, the kids had to grow the neurons, because we know the more connections you have, you know, the smarter you're getting. The more connections between those brain cells, the smarter you're getting. And so the challenge was they had to answer 10 questions, and every time they answer a question, okay, the neurons connect more. So by the time they answered all 10 questions, you know, this person was really, really smart because they saw the neurons connect. You know, that's a video. Like I say, it's funny. They keep it pretty funny so the kids can be engaged with it. But that's how it is. You're going all the way up to that top to where you're a brain master. Okay? And this is the same thing. You know, when I read my book, I believe that, you know, in life, that's what we're doing. We're constantly, you know, overcoming giants. We're constantly trying to get somewhere. When we're setting goals, we're trying to get to that top level.
How long is the program?
It's either 15 sessions. If we do 1 hour sessions, then it's 15 sessions. If we do 45-minute sessions, then it's 20 sessions. You know. But it's not something like we've been doing. We've been doing assemblies, 2 or 3 assemblies a year, trying to change student behavior. You can't do it that way. It's got to be something that's intensive, you know, something that we do over a course of time. And the way we did it at Henry County Middle is we did it Tuesday and Thursday. Every Tuesday and Thursday we bring knowledge, and we took 45 minutes to do it. You know, and Dr. Anderson was so impressed with it because he started making me the teacher mentor. All new teachers had to come to me, you know, to find out what I was doing to, you know, have my, because she was like, when she had me to go into that class, this was like right before Thanksgiving. We had already had 6 teachers in that classroom. And the last teacher, when she went in there, she was crying. You know, that's how bad those kids were. And then after, you know, after a year of time with me being in the classroom, it was one of the best behaved classrooms in the school. Okay? Now, a lot of people like to say, because you're so big, I don't yell. I don't. You know, I didn't even do that with my own kids. You know, you know, the same way that I do with these kids, I show them this is how successful people do things. I model the behavior that I want them to show. I show them this is how we're going to do it.
Now, you said that you do this at 2 churches.
Right.
Are those the kids there? Is it just youth group that does it, or are they kids that parents say, you know, I'm having a problem with my
No,
child?
just the youth group.
Okay,
just
and
the
so
youth.
they're voluntarily participating
They are.
in the
yes.
program? You don't have any kids that are there against their will?
Well,
per se.
yeah, but they are because, you know, some of those kids don't want to come to church. Their parents make them come.
Okay.
You know, and I do have challenge. See, that's the thing.
Is it so
I've
just
had
like Sunday
challenging
school,
kids.
but it's not Sunday school,
No.
Bible study night that you're doing?
That's what it is, but I don't teach Bible study, I teach mindset. And I had to, you know, I really had to sell that to these pastors though, because they were like, what Jesus said in it? I say, well, you know, what we're doing, man, is we're changing the mindset of our students. And, you know, really, if you want to look at the Bible, you know, you can look at James where it says, rejoice when we fall into diverse temptations. And that just simply means, you know, trials are going to come, and we can't break down when we face those trials. You know, we have to rejoice in them and understand that those trials come for us to learn to get better. You know, so I say, that's your scripture. But, you know, my thing is, you know, this 21st century, you know, we have to do different things now because our, you know, millennials are different. You know, they learn different. You know, they're not like we were. And so we got to do some different things. So I've always been teaching challenging students, though. I really have. That's because that's what I come from Atlanta. You know, I was born and raised, and I went to Atlanta Public School. You know, and it was tough. You know, I came up in the project, so I know what a lot of these kids are going through. I know, you know, some of the things that they're facing, and I know that a lot of them, the main problem is that they don't believe in their abilities. They don't think they can do it. They want the same things that everybody else do. They want to be successful. You know, they want nice things, but they don't believe they have the ability to do it like everybody else. So they get involved in crime. You know, because that's a way for them to get the same things. You know, even though it's going to lead to trouble, they don't look at that part.
Would you be, would it be, is it, the two kids would have to start off, everybody start, like if you got 20 kids, they would start off in that group to do it for a period of time for those 20 sessions.
Right.
And then you would start another group.
Right, but what
20,
we
but
do,
you couldn't.
but let me explain to you how I do it. Yes, we do it as a group. So if a kid misses something, they're going to come in on, because we moving on. But what they can do is the part they miss when we start another group, because that's what we do. This is not something that we just do for 20 weeks and it's done. You know, we keep doing it. And that's what I'm trying to get people to do. These are things that we have to keep doing, you know, so the kids can, that's what this is teaching. You know, when we get that stuff in our long-term memory, in order to do that, we got to keep doing it.
But you're doing it with different kids, so first 20 group, you get another group of 20, but 3 of them miss the first 3 sessions. Those
So
3
they can
people
come in
can
on
come
that
in
day, yeah.
on those 3
Right.
sessions and catch
And
up,
get
but
what
they
they
don't
need.
have to stay for the next,
Right.
for what they've already done.
Right, absolutely.
She just
Yeah, that's the way I've been doing it, because you don't want to keep, you know, some of these kids, growth mindset kids, and that's what you want them to do. You want them to be growth mindset. Growth mindset students, when you give them stuff they already know, they get bored. You know, and that's why we have the behaviors. You know, I found that out too. I used to get students all the time that teachers bring me because they get in trouble. My class was self-contained. When they came to me, their freedoms were taken, so it was like them coming to jail. They had to work their way out of my classroom. But I found out that some of those students were highly intelligent. But I'll sit down when I have my conference with them. I say, man, why are you in here? Well, coach, you know, I don't really do anything, man. I finish my work and I'm just sitting there with nothing to do. So I do something funny. You know, I say something crazy to get attention. You know, and then I have to go back to the teacher and say, well, if his academics were really, really good and off the chart, why is he in my class? Well, he was just sitting there. He finished his work early. You know, and I'm like, wow, that's because he was not getting challenged. And so that's why we don't want to, you know, stay at the same place, because we're trying to take them to growth mindset. You know, and the way the program works is they will get there. And so we have to move on. But now we're not leaving the other kids out because we keep running the program. And they can come on the day and I let them know, hey, this is when we're going to do the session and choose.
Okay, and when would you propose to be able to start working with the youth here if we?
I mean, I'm ready. I have all of my stuff. You know, it's just a matter of when you guys
Schedule. Yeah, I know you were saying that you have a group on Wednesdays now.
Yeah, Wednesday nights and Monday nights. And it's from 7 to 8 is when I do those groups.
Okay.
So, you know, it just depends on when you want to do the group. You know, I'm available as long as we can, you know, set up a schedule. You know, I commit myself to that schedule and then work around that.
How many kids do you suggest you have in each group?
25 maybe is the, you know, 25. I mean, even though we did it with 30, you know, because at Henry County Middle, teachers could have up to 30. Yeah, 30.
Optimum 30. Is that too many or?
To me, it's too many. I think
What is the
25.
best number?
25. Yeah.
Where does this take place?
See, that's the thing. Now, I have I've been using White Dove Church of God down here on 42. So, you know, he has a lot of classrooms. He agreed to, you know, let me do it. So.
Well, we have problems sometimes with mosquitoes with what programs we got now. They can't get there because they don't have a car. Our mom works at night, or is there some sort of transportation you can help them with if they need it?
Well, I mean, that's something we can work on. That's something we can work on. Because now I'm doing this part, and I don't get paid for it. Matter of fact, Carol Dweck needs to be paying me for this because, but she doesn't, you know, because I do it.
Understand, but we run into that problem with
Right.
transportation, getting to the programs we got now.
Do you have a screening instrument to determine who would be appropriate to come into your program?
Well, the one thing that I do is, like I said, we give an assessment. You know, we
That's
just
right.
kinda-
So you have an assessment.
Yeah, we do that the first day of class.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, but we would need to have them assessed before we assign them to your program to make sure that we don't want to send people that you either to one end or the other you don't need to work with, or may not be appropriate.
What would be like, I guess, the
Yeah.
criteria for us as to the type of kids that we were
So
recruiting?
it's not going to be every kid we see that we would assign to your program.
Well,
That's why I
I mean,
wanted to-
you know what? I'll let you guys be the judge of that because, like I say, I work with all county kids. You know, I don't.
But what I'm saying is, how can we, the assessment you give them the first night, can we have already given it to them to determine?
But all that assessment is going to determine if they're fixed mindset or growth mindset. And so we're trying to take them from fixed mindset to growth mindset.
So if they're already growth mindset, you don't need them.
Right, technically.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. We could weed them out. We don't need to send with a limited space.
Right,
or
right,
spots.
right,
We
right.
don't need to send you to either beyond help, which I hate to say that, but there may
Right.
be a few, or the ones that really don't need the
Right, I
help.
agree. I agree.
So,
Yeah.
so the fact that they make straight A's in school doesn't necessarily mean they're not mindset.
Right.
That they are mindset.
Because it depends on what,
Texas have.
it depends on what grade they're in, because from, you know, elementary to 6th grade, the work is fairly easy for most of them anyway. It's the 7th grade where we realize that, you know, we got some problems. But yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, if they already have a growth mindset, if we already see them, you know, achieving and doing things, or like you say, I understand that as well. There are some kids that they just don't want to be helped. You know, I've had a few of those throughout the years as well.
Well, the,
So-
Are there particular diagnoses that you deal with, like, you know, the autistic kids? Are they more adept for this program than any other kid, or like ADD kids? Or are
To
we
me-
bringing any kid in this program?
Yeah, to me, you know, I've dealt with all kind of kids. I've dealt with kids, you know, like I said, some of those kids were already intelligent. They were just bored because the teachers didn't challenge them. You know, So I've had all kinds.
Is there a, like, target age? 'Cause we deal with children that could be anywhere from 8, 9 years old, 16.
Yeah, it'll start at 5th grade, so we're talking about from like 10 all the way up to like 18, maybe 17.
Most of them do, I think, 14, 15, 16 year old.
Yeah, see, yeah, because most of the ones that you see are gonna be in high school and middle school. Right. Yeah, that's
The handout that gave on the second
yeah, it's
section,
two
so-
different ones.
Oh, so there's two different programs?
Yeah, because
I was
this-
wondering
no,
how
this
this
is-
fit into the...
No, cause this is what I see. When I'm at Henry County Middle School, these are the two problems that I see with kids. Number one, they don't believe in their abilities, so they shut down, they act out. And number two, we start having problems with drugs, and gang activity and stuff like that. And I think by doing the risk reduction, drug and alcohol risk reduction program, I think that helps a lot of kids.
That's not the mindset.
That's not the mindset.
Okay.
They're two different programs.
So is the mindset program designed to make a difference in at-risk children or just kids in general?
At-risk children and kids.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Because like I say, we're trying to help kids go from, being to where they think intelligence, their abilities and talent, where they think it's just something you're born with, to believing that they can develop these things. And that's what I did. For us to win that title, man, that's how I coach. I coach my kids to have a growth mindset, to believe that you can do anything, because Eagles Landing had never even been to the playoff before my group got there at all.
Has there been any evidence, research, evidence-based findings that this mindset program makes a difference in at-risk kids in terms of offenses or recidivism or anything like that?
Well, not that I know of. I just go off of my personal.
Okay.
That's all I work with is at-risk kids. And I know, just like I was telling her, I had autistic kids. All of my autistic kids have graduated, where the national average is 22%. So that tells me that, it's doing something.
Thank you.
Having problems with their parents.
And you may have said earlier, but what is the cost per participant?
Well, I'm not charging anything right now. I want to do this because, I have the same goal as you guys. I want to see our communities change, and the only way we can change our communities is by changing mindsets, and we got to start with our youth. Now Carol, I think Dr. Anderson paid $4,000 for the whole school to get the program, but the thing is once she paid for it, it's lifetime for the teachers and for the students. It's like a lifetime membership. It never, goes out. But that's why I'm doing